And call to order the June meeting of the Park and Recs Board. And why don't we start by a Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from our May meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes approved.
There we go.
Tammy, announcements.
Announcements, Board of Commissioners meetings upcoming will take place on Monday, June 20th and Monday, July 18th here at the Radnor Township Building at 7 o'clock p.m. The next Parks and Recreation Board meeting will be held on Wednesday, July 13th at the Willows Mansion at 6:30 p.m. The Mainline Jazz and Food Festival will take place on Saturday, June 11th from 12 o'clock to 9 o'clock p.m. in downtown Wayne. Radnor Conservancy composting event will be held on Sunday, June 12th at Caroline Shades Gardens from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock p.m. The Radnor Summer Concert Series will start Wednesday, June 22nd and run through August 3rd from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. The Rosemont Garrett Hill 4th of July Parade will take place on Monday, July 4th. The Radnor High School fireworks celebration will be held on Monday, July 4th. The Philadelphia Freedoms will host Radnor Township Night on Thursday, July 7th and Friday, July 15th at Villanova University's Pavilion at 7 o'clock p.m. The Radnor High School tennis court lights have been turned on in the evenings on Wednesdays and Thursdays at 8 o'clock p.m. Through 10:45 p.m. through the end of summer. For a listing of the department's activities, please visit our website at www.radnorparksandrecreation.com.
Okay. Why don't we jump to new business? And do we have somebody from the Radnor Conservancy?
We have Sarah Lupkus here from the Radnor Conservancy, and she's going to talk to us tonight about the race for open space that took place on Sunday, June 5th. Sarah, go ahead.
Hi. First, I would just like to thank everyone in the Parks and Recs for helping us. This is the first year that we ever put on a 5K race, and we worked with Tammy. We met with her a few times, and it was just a very smoothly run. Everyone that we heard from really enjoyed it, and we are hopeful that we can turn this into an annual event. The race began and finished at the Willows Cottage, and it was 5 kilometers, mainly through the trails of the Willows and Skunk Hollow Parks. So we have a few pictures, and actually I'm not sure how to get rid of the things on the side.
We actually can see them on our monitors now. Well, we did for a second there. Oh.
Under view.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
We can see them all on the monitor here, so we can see them good.
Okay. So as you can see this picture, we had a fun run for kids ages 4 up to about 10 years old, and they split them into 2 groups, the younger and the older, and they ran on the lawn in front of the Willows Cottage. And that is more the kids gathering to get started. And they were very excited. They had registration also, so you can see they each had a bib with their numbers. This is the start of the 5K. The man with the megaphone who's speaking, he is from Run the Day. They are the race management company that we used, and they're very experienced with putting on races in general, but especially trail runs. So they were very helpful in helping us to plot the course. We had our registration and our silent auction happened inside the Willows Cottage. And we had a troop of Eagle Scouts. They helped us prepare the course for the race. They put on the kids' runs, and then they helped us clean up the course and the cottage after. And these are some of our top finishers. We had some really good times. Some people finished in less than 25 minutes, which is, especially on a trail run, it was really good. And I think, oh, and the registration, like I said, took place inside the cottage. So it was really, and we had refreshments afterwards, just basic water, peaches, and some pretzels. But that all happened at the cottage. And if there are any questions, but we had 98 official 5K finishers. We had 150 people participating because we did also have a walk option, and then with the children's fun runs. We had 25 volunteers, including the Eagle Scouts. So the volunteers helped with our registration, serving as course marshals, and cleaning up the course afterwards.
And how much money did you raise, do you know?
We raised over $1,000.
Right.
We're still finishing up our calculations, but we did raise over $1,000.
All right.
No,
Thank
it was
you.
it was a great run. I actually did, and I thought you guys did an excellent job organizing
Oh,
everything.
thank you.
So
Thanks.
I didn't see you in the finishers there.
I did slightly above 25 minutes. So.
Well, it sounds like you got a great start for your first year, and excuse me. It sounds like you have a great start for your first year, and something certainly to build on for next year. So, great job, well done.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And Tammy was completely instrumental in helping us to get the race up and running and off the ground. And you know, for a complete novice, she helped me with everything that we needed to do through the township. So it was a
I
big
paid her
help.
to say that.
There you go.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank
The
you very
township
much.
was happy to be a part of the event, and
Thank you.
That's
help you
great.
guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Do we have anybody from the Radnor Youth Sports Foundation?
Jamie Richmond is going to be attending and speaking on behalf of the Radnor Youth Sports Foundation. I think he's going to be here a little after 7.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we can come back to that.
Do you want to then go up to the activities report?
Yes. The activities report for May 2011. In May, the Parks and Recreation Department had many spring programs up and running, including Spring Youth Basketball League, 5-star preschool sports, play ball, cardio core and more, birding, tennis, after-school science and chess, babysitters training, and golf lessons. On Saturday, May 7th, our department successfully led a spring on-your-own trip to New York City with 29 participants. Everyone had an enjoyable time and are looking forward to future trips. The summer camp registration also kicked off in early May, and we continue to process campers daily by registrations in person and by mail. A full lineup of summer programs and camps are planned, including the popular Radnor Day Camp and Summer Tot Lot. We also welcome back Sports and More Camp at Radnor Activity Center. This day camp program offers an extended day option and provides a great day of sports, socialization, and other fun activities. Additional specialty camps are being offered that cover a spectrum of interests for a variety of ages, including topics such as science, chess, Harry Potter, theater, music, video game creation, hiking, geocaching, baseball, soccer, hiking, tennis, field hockey, golf, flag football, and others. The number of campers registered so far for Radnor Day Camp is at 200, and Summer Tot Lot is near 40. We're currently taking registrations for our trip to the U.S. Open Tennis Championships on Friday, September 2nd, and our trip to the Philadelphia Phillies baseball game on Friday, July 22nd is sold out, and we're currently taking a wait list. The Summer 2011 activities brochure is currently in circulation and has been posted to our website. The Township newsletter has also been finalized, and each of you should have a copy of it in your packets. And it's in the process of being delivered to residents, businesses, and apartments in Radnor. It's also available online and throughout different locations in the township. We're excited about its completion and its increased ability for our department and other departments to communicate to more people within the township. I'd like to thank Melissa Kahn, our Information Technology Director, and Franklin Maps for working with our department throughout the process. I'd also like to thank Katie Diamond, our department's support staff member, for her contributions to this project. We're looking forward to a second township newsletter to make its way into circulation in early October 2011. The Parks and Recreation Department has 2011 discount coupons to local amusement parks while supplies last. I've continued to work with the township insurance, our insurance representatives, and our township solicitor on the review of our department program registration forms, facility agreements, and contracts. Meetings with them have generated suggestions and feedback that we are in the process of applying. Both have provided valuable information that we are adapting to our department's operational guidelines for programming and our summer staff training guide. In addition to programming, usage at Radnor Activity Center at Sulpizio Gymnasium is also being coordinated. 5 rentals took place in May for activities such as basketball and birthday parties. 2 of them were for a series of several days. We continue to coordinate and schedule the facility with various public and private groups within the community, along with our department's seasonal recreational usage. On May 17th, we hosted Election Day at the facility and coordinated the deliveries for the voting machines with Delaware County. The Willows Mansion hosted 6 events in May, and 10 events are scheduled for June. The facility continues to be rented for functions, along with hosting many department programs and camps. The Fenimore Woods Picnic Shelter, Clemacone Park, Beau Connor Park, Cowan Park, Willows, and other picnic areas are currently being rented for the season. The leaf mulch program it has begun and has been available at the Willows, Emlyn Tennell Park, Phillip Home Park, Fenimore Woods, Hartford Park, Skunk Hollow Park, and Itham Valley Park while supplies last. The screener is currently being repaired, and the availability at all sites will be on a limited basis. We would like to welcome our new Public Works Director, Stephen Norsini, who started on this past Tuesday, and our department will look forward to meeting with him further in the coming weeks to update on projects and discuss the many dimensions related to both our department and the Public Works Department. The Park Supervisor, Paul Totero, and his staff have continued their effort of addressing many of the park and field-related items throughout the township. The entrance combination to the park comfort stations is 123. Fenimore Woods requires a permit which enables you to get a key in order to enter that park's bathroom. An update on the Cowan Park grant. We have received the final draft of the drawings and specifications from the architect for the comfort station, and we're in the process of preparing the bid packet for construction. Extension for the grant has been requested from DCNR to lengthen the timeline to complete the project in 2011. We're expected to receive an update on the status sometime in July. The Emlyn Tennell dugout roof repair is currently underway, and the home dugouts are expected to be completed sometime this week, perhaps by tomorrow or early next week. We'll be addressing that project and working with them to get the visitor dugouts roof repaired in the coming months. Kevin Yim's Eagle Scout project that consisted of restoring the Brook Farm Trail has been completed, so we'd like to take a moment to thank him. Maharsi Naidu, who was here last month to present his Eagle Scout project and working with the Conservancy on their trail run, along with doing some clearing along the Skunk Hollow and Willows trails, has also been completed. We'd like to thank him as well. I'm working with other local scouts to conduct their Eagle Scout projects this summer, involving trail enhancements, painting park fences, and providing packages to the American troops. For more information and updates on what is happening with our department, please be sure to check out the weekly reports at radnor.com under featured links. Thank you, and that concludes my report for May.
Thank you. Anybody have any comments or questions for Tammy? Well, each and every month your updates certainly get more and more informative and more information provided, and thank you very much for all the time and effort you put into it. 2 questions. Are you expecting or are hopeful for registrations to maybe make a dash to the finish as we get close to the finish line for the start of the camps upcoming?
We absolutely are, especially with the Township newsletter, hopefully either hitting the residents' homes or will be hitting them between the end of this week and early next week. So we hope that that will certainly provide a bit of a boost. And generally, annually, we see that mad dash for people to register last minute as well.
Super. With the, I guess the hot topic of the lights at the tennis court, and we've had some conversation amongst this board prior to, and I know we've looked in the past of some options of pay-as-you-go type different scenarios and so forth. Have we looked at possible scenarios and maybe looked at maybe just seeing what those different options might be or what they might cost, and maybe make them a possible option to as we go forward?
We've had discussions about that, and certainly I've talked with Leo Burnaby a little bit about some past research that he's done relative to that as well, and also with the new Public Works Director starting, we'll start to look at it a little bit more closely. I think we looked at some options for putting a device perhaps on at the entrance there that would actually turn on the lights, that maybe they would, participants would actually get a card that they could charge up, or maybe a coin-operated type of machine. We've also talked about just some other options with permitting or paying as you go type of a scenario. And we will certainly continue to evaluate that, as well as just, overall just the lights being on for the residents.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Do we have a Shade Tree Commission report?
Yes. Had a good Shade Tree Commission meeting this week, or 2 weeks ago rather. The interesting part was there's a major effort at Cabrini College to remove the congestion associated with parking on their campus. It's multi-stage, it's multi-year, it looks like an outstanding plan. It came before the Shade Tree Commission because 3 parking garages will go in, 3-story parking garages. It'll impact a lot of trees that'll be taken out. They'll be replacing those trees and then some. The Shade Tree Commission was reviewing the larger trees and then making recommendations on what type of shrubs and what type of growth could be used there, partly because of the deer impact on it, but just as importantly to get a sense of the entire parcel. I think to Park and Rec, the interesting area is that this is going to open up some more fields for them, and it might provide an opportunity for us to collaborate a little bit more with Cabrini in the same way we have in the past.
That's great. Super. Thank you.
You're welcome.
School board report.
Thank you. Our seniors are getting ready to graduate. Commencement exercises are next Wednesday, the 15th at 6 o'clock at the Villanova Pavilion, and everyone's really excited about that.
That's great.
Thank you.
Super. Do we have any committee reports? Pat?
Thank you, Fenton. I had the pleasure last evening of participating as the representative for the Parks and Rec Board at the subcommittee of the Open Space Plan Development. What I made copies of, and again, it's just draft, and I brought some along to share with the members of the committee here, is their draft copy of the table of contents that they would like to include in the forthcoming plan development. And you can see I highlighted part 10 there, and that is addressing park improvements, and it has major import for, I think, for the Parks and Rec department and also this committee here. So I will keep you abreast of what's happening there. At this particular juncture, the committee is looking at the samples of some RFPs because a consultant will be hired, and their timeline is for someone to be on board by late summer, early fall. and then moving forward with that. So as
Great.
things evolve, I'll keep you informed on that. Okay?
Super.
Yeah.
Just to add, Pat sits on the subcommittee for the open space, which is in the process of rewriting the open space plan for the township, which really hasn't been addressed for it in the last 20 years. And it's a major undertaking. And Pat, thank you for taking the initiative of sitting on that subcommittee, because certainly we want to have a representative for Parks and Rec there. Anything from EAC? Commissioners update.
I participated in the run this weekend as one of the course monitors, and one of the things that impressed me the most was we were out walking the course, obviously before the runners came out, and it's clearly evident that those trails are getting tremendous amount of usage. I don't know if there's a way to do counts, but obvious that it's one of those amenities that people really utilize in this township. And it was a blast watching folks running by as I was standing totally still. Saw Andy out there. I can testify he did run. Other than that, we're moving forward. We believe we have some progress on a couple fronts relative to Parks and Rec, and we'll talk to you more about those things as they develop.
Okay. All righty. Do we, why don't we, under new business, why don't we touch on the Fields Committee meeting? And I think what, in putting that on as a new business item, I think with the discussions that we've had over the months with regards to Agnes Irwin, I think it's become apparent that we probably need to revisit and relook at the usage of our fields, by whom, and make sure that we are maybe redirecting the scheduling of the fields more through a central location, and then also maybe taking a look at some of the field and fee usages for some of the fields. So what I guess I'd like to do is try and get the Fields Committee together and try and bring up and discuss some of the subjects that we've talked to and encountered over the course of the last couple months as we've kind of gone through the Agnes Irwin Radnor Memorial Field project, and a lot of questions and have arisen over the course of the discussions that we've had, and I think we just want to make sure that we kind of dissect that and make sure that we're maybe fine-tuning that better for the township, and trying to streamline and funnel that through the township. So, anybody have any thoughts or comments on that, and think it's a good idea or not a good idea? Okay. So we'll have a note going out soon to try and get a couple dates together and try and put the Fields Committee together. Radnor Run. Tammy, you want to take that?
Yes. I put a letter in each of your packets from the American Lung Association. It's just overall a letter to talk a little bit about the history of the run and some of the success throughout the years that has been entertained through that event. And just to overall request support and acknowledge support. I think with a lot of the big events, not only that our department is doing, but some of the other events, larger events that are taking place within the community by community organizations, we just want to acknowledge them and just overall gain support from the boards in the future moving forward with this. As many of you may know, the Radnor Run has been a staple in the Radnor community it'll be in its 34th year this year. So it is a delightful event. I mean, we had close to 1,000 participants in last year's event, and there was a significant amount of money that was raised for the American Lung Association, and a number of sponsors and community members and people within Radnor Township who look to the event year after year and to participate for certain. So myself, in being a committee member, in the planning and being instrumental for a number of years, we wanted to bring it to the board's attention, ask for support. We'll do the same for the Board of Commissioners on June 20th. Some of the planning has already been in the process, and we realize that this might be a little behind the ball, but I want to at least acknowledge support publicly and also just highlight the event and what it has brought to the community. So what I would ask tonight is if the board could just acknowledge its support for the event and perhaps give some input to that I can take back to the American Lung Association and continue to move forward with the planning.
Anybody have any thoughts on that? Well, as a volunteer and a participant, and also corporately, we've certainly been a sponsor of the Radnor Run. I think it's, as you said, for 34 years it's been a staple within the community, and I think that it keeps getting bigger and bigger each and every year, and I think it certainly gets better and better. So I think it's certainly a wonderful day for the community to come together, and as you said, we had about 1,000 participants and certainly many more spectators along the run, and it's really become quite an annual event, and I think we should certainly continue our support for the run. Anybody have?
Yeah, I nominate Andy to run it for us this year.
I ran it last year.
We can get a Parks
Actually,
Board team.
Last
How about
couple
that?
years, I've actually run
We can have a
that.
team in the race.
Schwartz has to make our T-shirts for us.
I'll make the T-shirts, that's fine.
Do we need to make a motion or just? No?
I don't think so. I
Okay.
think that's good.
Okay, great. Well, since Jamie's not here, why don't we shoot down to the old business, and under old business, we had the Radnor Activity Center at Sulpizio for discussion and updates. I guess my question to either John or Elaine would be, I guess 2 meetings ago, we made a motion to potentially suggest that we close the facility based on the inspection reports after 90 days, and to my knowledge, that motion has not been made to the Board of Commissioners, and I guess my question number 1 is, why not? And number 2, do you have any updates that you can provide for this board as to what is being done behind the scenes with regards to the violations that we were made aware of in January?
Your motion was in fact forwarded to all the board members.
But it was not made public.
We didn't discuss it.
Okay. To me, that motion should have been made public.
Well, why don't we put it on the agenda for the 20th, Tammy?
I can talk with the manager about that.
Okay.
And ask that to take place.
I believe there's some progress. We've had some meetings. Bob Miklas has been out there to talk about some of the things. You have a copy of the estimates that were done back in May. I'd note that everything doesn't have to be done immediately. So that's what I've been working with the manager on, is trying to come up with an implementation plan that takes care of the more critical issues. And as I said, we are making progress.
I can say from a staff perspective, we did water quality tests a number of months ago. It was determined that there was no major concern. Our health inspector reviewed all of the quality tests that had came back from the environmental company, and nothing was in a dangerous area of concern. To follow up with that, though, we did have water filters installed on both of the water fountains so that the quality of the water would continue to be purified as it comes through the fountain, just in case there's anything or any hardness or anything like that, or any chemicals or any chlorine that maybe wasn't ascertained through the test. So we did have them installed. And right now the staff is in the process of continuing meetings with Mr. Miklas and others in the community who are...
With us just receiving the report this evening and not having a chance to have looked at it, what, if anything, new was ascertained or found over and above prior reports?
I don't think there's anything new. In fact, the roof, we haven't had any more leakage, so we don't understand exactly what caused the prior leakage. And we're also talking about alternatives. For example, as you'll see on this report, the change for the stairs down to where the old tunnel used to be, now is recommending a sump pump and a dehumidifier. In prior times, it was a more intensive fix. And that's one I've been talking with Bob Miklas about, is getting some volunteers to get in there and Sherlock the walls, for example, rather than have it done professionally. But I just took a quick scan through it myself. I hadn't seen it either. And I don't see anything that I hadn't previously been aware of.
Was there a cost associated with this report?
Bottom line.
Yes, there's a total bottom line cost
You
at the end.
mean a cost of the thing or cost to prepare it?
Cost to do the actual report.
Prepare it.
There was.
Staff time.
There was a pardon?
Staff time.
No,
There was a cost to Bob Shields for the
Oh,
report.
okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean,
It was under $1,000.
okay.
John, the bottom line here is $466,000 plus dollars. You said not everything is immediate. Do we have any idea? Is it 50-50 at this point? Is it what needs to be done
I've only
immediately?
just seen it, so Jim,
Okay.
I really can't answer that yet. I saw a lot of things that are necessary to bring it up to a top-notch facility. And for example, the doors don't work that divide the place up. Well, that would be great if they did, but that obviously doesn't affect the ability to use Sopusio
Right.
Gym. There's some ceiling tiles that should be replaced. Personally, I think that's more cosmetic than it is functional. But, I'm sure we can have great, lengthy discussions about that. So, as I said, I haven't gone through it line by line, but
Thanks.
In looking at this, I'd like to caution, I think that there's a disconnect between this report and what inspections gave us. Just looking through it quickly, it talks about refinishing the floor, 18,000. Talks about the partitions that John mentioned, 76,000. Talks about the bleachers, 48,000. These were not items that were in the initial report about the inspection violation. And I think that's where our focus needs to be, and I
Right.
think that was the
Right.
genesis of our
Our
motion.
motion, right.
Agreed.
So I think we have to look at this and compare it with what was in that initial report, because I think the $466,000, $284,000 of it, just eyeballing it quickly, I don't think dovetails with what was in the original inspection report. So
That may not even need to be done at this point.
that's my point.
Right.
That's my point.
Based on the usage that we're currently using and potentially intended, since we don't have a staff to,
I mean, do we have any sense on the roof? I mean, that seems to be the biggest elephant on this. I mean, is this something that needs to be done? Is it, I know it was in both the report in January and.
I think over time, it certainly eventually is going to need to be replaced, but I think it's been in the condition it's currently been in for years. I think we've had leakage over the course of the years, even prior to when, the middle school was using it, so.
So that's something that we would feel comfortable leaving out of, I guess, the
Initially-
violations that were.
Initially, right now.
I guess, and that's where I
That would be-
leave.
that would be my
Pass it
thought.
on to John, in your professional background, I know where you're coming from. I see three different levels. One is the code violations that Mike mentioned. Two, functional type things that would be nice to have, the partition, and then the aesthetic type things that, that these fall into. If we talked about the code violations, I know you haven't had a chance to digest this. Isn't that in the neighborhood of $40,000 to $50,000, less than $75,000, more than $100,000, to get an idea on code violations?
Well, obviously, Pat, the great variable is how much work can be done by volunteers.
Okay.
But, and an issue we're in Radnor, of course, is that anything more than 3,000, we have to put out the bid.
Yeah.
And then we also get caught with the state requirement for prevailing wage. But I would put it certainly less than 75, probably less than 50.
Less than 50. I'm looking closely here. I think one of the things that could be a code violation, light and wall switches and things such as that. as opposed to new accessories for $1,800 and that.
Right.
So that, getting an idea.
Yeah, there
on
were
that.
some switches, there were some emergency lighting, there was an exit sign needed for the birthday room. What originally reported was dry traps, and then the cost that it was associated, that was actually removing, the bathrooms and all that. Well, actually, dry traps can be handled very simply by putting mineral oil in the drains, sealing the trap. So again, you really have to boil it down to is what does the code require, and there are many ways to skin that cat. Obviously, we want to be able to provide a safe facility, number one, and then from there on, it's what people are willing to pay for.
Is there any way we could know, I guess, or what of these the code does require?
Yeah, I'll go back and work on that. I'll get that for you, folks, before the next meeting.
It's also important to note that the report wasn't put together just to address those codes items. It was to get an overall picture
Certainly.
of the maintenance and repairs.
John, I'm certainly not trying to put anybody on the spot here, but, again, 60 days ago, we made a motion, and, at our next meeting, potentially, we may make a recommendation based on what transpires. And I think, the indication was make the motion so that we maybe bring a enlightened awareness to what's going on and try and get this expedited. So, again, that's really...
My goal is to be able to discuss this fully at the next commissioners' meeting. So we'll be able to address the point you just raised.
Super. Thank you for your help. Thank you for your support, and certainly behind the scenes of all that you're doing with the community effort and the community involvement and trying to get this, because certainly nobody up here, and I'm sure many in the community, don't want to see this. Obviously, us have to make a motion for that to be shut down. Why don't we touch on the, under old business, the Radnor Memorial Park lease discussion update. Tammy, do you want to touch on that? I know that there was a vote taken at the last commissioners meeting.
It will be, the Radnor Memorial Park lease with Agnes Irwin will be up for adoption at the Monday, June 20th meeting. It's my understanding that it will be later in the agenda, just for folks who do want to come out to it. But I do want to encourage, folks to come out and speak for it or against it, because we do want to hear what they have to say, but we do look forward to its adoption on that night.
Okay. Any comments? Okay. Under new business, we have Jamie Richmond from the Radnor Youth Sports Foundation, who wants to make a presentation, and we'll be happy to turn it over to Jamie.
I am coming from a T-ball baseball game, was coaching, so.
How'd you do?
Let me guess, you're
Thankful to the
tied.
Phillies.
There you go.
Let me guess, you're tied.
We're tied.
Unbelievable.
Amazing. All the boys were happy.
Happens all the time.
That's great.
Two are mine. This one and this one. And this is a friend, Peter, best friend of my younger son.
That's great.
John. Thanks. So Jamie Richmond, Chairman of the Board, Radnor Youth Sports Foundation, a new organization that's been created to support youth sports, all sports. Currently, baseball seems to be getting a lot of our attention right now. But the goal is to, through community involvement, raise funds and support activities to enhance the sports capabilities and facilities available to our children. We live in a fantastic community, and sometimes when you look around at other neighboring locations, the opportunities their children have seem a step above. A bit more opportunities, a bit more facilities, or there's more facilities, there's more practice time for them. There's more. Peter, stop kicking, please. So, I get to be a parent and while talking. So, with that in mind, enhancing the opportunities for children, realizing the benefit to our community in youth sports. I mean, it's a well-founded it's a staple for communities to have youth sports, for all the benefits that come to the children, and then what the community gets as a result of that for the children. I could take a half hour just speaking about that right now, and I won't. So in our initial stages, what we found out was that there were only 2 batting cages for boys, 2 batting cages for girls for all of Radnor Wayne. There's over 1,200 participants, and there's only 2 batting cages. Those 2 batting cages are for the older boys, was in a location. So the first step that we took was, hey, if indeed there is this desire and there's this need, then the community will support it. So we set out a request for funds, donations. Over 40 families have donated. We've raised over $7,000, and thanks to the generosity of the township giving us permission to put up temporary cages, we now have 4 more cages. So we went from 2 cages to 6 cages for the boys to play baseball. And I got to tell you, it was amazing. Those cages have been used and used and used and used and used. It's a lot of excitement. The boys are really getting some great value out of it. Tammy had asked to see if I would come and speak some about the board. Obviously, or the foundation. I didn't have any real prepared comments. I really wanted to come to answer any questions you might have and let you know that we are moving forward. Other areas of concern for us is Sulpizio's Gym. It is a place that we believe is a vital asset to our community. From our perspective, the benefit to the children in our community around sports, health, etc., we need another one. If you look at the times where it's needed, optimum times, it's sold out. In the wintertime, you can't get space in there. It's already booked up for everything possible for basketball, and there's more programs that could be supported. So from our perspective, it's not a question of, do we keep this one or build a different one? It's no, we keep this one, and we build another one. And we enhance the capabilities in the, what's available to our children. The truth is that a lot of programs don't even get brought up. It's like, an example would be the batting cages. People didn't go to use batting cages because there were only 2, and they had to be scheduled, and what was the chance of getting in? Well, now we've got 4 more batting cages at a different location, and people are coming. It's being used. It's, their feeling is that it's worth the risk to go and to try. And I believe that if we had more, another facility similar to Sulpizio's, you would see it used. It would be unbelievably so. And the opportunities it provides to our community for the diversity of programs that can be provided, the care that can be given to children that need special support in certain areas, and not to mention just health. I mean, it's a topic I could talk forever, and I'll stop there. Any questions or anything I can share with you about our foundation?
Jamie, do you feel there's additional need for more utilization of outdoor space?
Great question, Michael. I appreciate it. And yes, I think it's a disservice to our children that when we start playing games, they can't practice anymore. Whether it be basketball, whether it be baseball, whether it be... our community is really about equal opportunity for all children. And what ends up happening is those less skilled, the ones more challenged, when it comes time for playing a game, they get left behind. Because they're playing a game, they're sitting on the bench, they stand out in the field, and maybe they get 2 balls. So the field situation that we have is such that our children, especially those that are striving, working hard, are hugely impacted by it because they can't practice during the week. So right now there's no field spaces. So us coaches that have the time and the ability, we'll go out and we'll go off in a piece of grass and try to cobble together some sort of practice because we know that our children need that our players need that. So that aspect of the benefit for our children to be able to practice while playing games there's such a limitation of field space. That's not even a question to be asked. Radnor Wayne Little League, the basketball, they're not even asking for that because they know it's a non-possibility. Well, that's something that I see Radnor Youth Sports Foundation can support and ask those questions. Our children need to practice while they're playing games. How can we accomplish that? Obviously, it's increasing field and using the fields we have more effectively, more efficiently. Whether that be, there's a whole host of options that can come up with the possibility of lights, the possibility of better drainage on the field, so when rain comes, For those of you that know, this year was a very rainy season, and practices were canceled left and right. So even as we started the season, where you would normally have 3 weeks of being able to practice, and only 3 weeks before games started, you were lucky to get 1.5 weeks in, maybe 2 practices. So did I answer your question, Mike? Was it?
Yes, you did, because the fact of the matter is, during a game, a kid gets very few touches.
Right.
That if he touches the ball 2 or 3 times, unless he's the pitcher or the catcher or the first baseman, he's not getting a lot of work. And while this spring had a lot of rain, it seems the last 25 years it rains a lot in the spring. And I actually am a proponent of considering turfing the infield diamonds of some of our baseball fields for greater utilization. I know a lot of people don't like that concept, but I support the idea, and I think the more the kids are out and the more they're doing and the more opportunity, the better off they'll be in so many different areas.
Absolutely. Turf on the infield would be a lot less expensive. You can combine much of them. And regardless of the rain, the infield is what we're worried about tearing up, right? Mm-hmm. The reason the fields are closed isn't because it's wet. It's because we're going to cause damage to the field. We don't want to cause, I mean, we've got limited resources now. We don't want to damage them. And that is one option that would limit the possibility of damage to the field, because the drainage would be there and you could play on the infield. It wouldn't be an issue. And so the numerous days that we've lost, even games that had to be delayed and replayed, wouldn't be there. Another issue is on South Devon, we've got the 2 fields there, and the one is kind of underwater. Well, the township did a great job of clearing out the drainage, and it's a lot better than it has been, but it's still not reliably playable when rain comes. So an investment of $7,000 to $10,000, we get drainage in there, we get a whole new field back. As I understand it, St. Catherine's uses that for football. So they'd have a full football field to be able to use. And it's a minor, obviously we're in fiscal times that are a challenge, and priorities have to be set. But if you take a look at it, $7,000 to get another baseball field, the football field finished, to me, the long-term benefits of that are significant. Granted, I'm looking at it from what's best for the children, from a perspective of them. That's my goal. That's what this foundation looks at. From that perspective, $7,000 is nothing. So it's, the way the foundation expects to go, we made personal requests to families and parents to donate to get the batting cages up and to move forward with that. We're going to be having fundraisers, a golfing event, various events for fundraising. We're not going to be constantly asking parents for money, but we're going to have fundraising events. We expect to have 2 to 3 a year, raise between $30,000 and $70,000, and through that be able to support where is needed. So Pizio's Gym is an area that obviously we cannot lose. It is critical to our community. It's the South Devon field. Fantastic. I know it's a challenge for people to think about, but lights. I mean, there's been a huge advancement in technology. Field lights can be put in that don't spray all over the place. Can you imagine if we had field lights and the boys could have 2 practices and a weeknight? The younger boys come in, and then the older boys come in? We just solved our issue. At least for baseball, if we had lights, we'd have a practice and games. It'd be no issue. In fact, the ability to expand and hold tournaments, significantly enhanced. Significantly enhanced to be able to hold tournaments, which allows us to, again, build up our community, be a center point for places around. As I understand it, in the past we used to, and that's something that around youth sports the foundation is very interested in doing, setting up a tournament and let Radnor be a focal point. Let us be a focal point. Bring other communities to us to celebrate and participate.
How do you see the foundation tying in or partnering with the other local sports groups that are currently
seamlessly. They're the ones that are running it and doing the activities. That's not our goal. Our goal is to see what we can do to enhance them to be more successful in providing the service to the children. So as an example, for the batting cages, we raised the money. We're not a 501(c) yet. We're in the process of doing that. So we asked parents to and donators to make the checks out to Radnor Little League, which is a 501(c). So we gathered the money, we presented it to them, letting them know what it was that we thought would benefit the community and we'd like purchase, and of course they agreed to it, and that's how it was raised. So along those lines, we'll be interfacing with them. And there's times in which an outside voice that's not as directly involved could be of benefit to all of youth sports, for each of the organizations, associations that are out there supporting them. And they do great work. Look at Radnor Little League. I mean, you know, we support them getting cages, but they're running a program for 1,200 kids. 1,200 kids? They do an amazing job.
Same with basketball.
Same with basketball, absolutely. So we've got an amazing volunteer system. It's all volunteers, parents dedicated, devoted to their children, making this work. And so we're coming out and looking at it from a different way is they're getting it to run every single year. We want to help make it better. So what can we do to add and what piece can be added to it to enhance it, make it better? And we want long-term improvements. We're not looking for a short-term hit. And the other aspect of it is with sports, my passion, what's great is you get to build your character. You get to learn how to fail, but fail well, right? There's only going to be one team that wins the championship for the playoffs in Little League. Everybody else is going to have to face that they did their best and they failed, which is life. The life lessons you get are huge. And so increasing the opportunities for competition, not just playing, but for competition, where they get to step up, where they get to compete, where they get to face how good am I, what do I need to get better if I choose to, and the realities of life. If you're not number one, how do you deal with it? Failing up is a way that I've heard it termed. I don't know who coined it, but if you can fail up, when you fail, you can get success out of it, value out of it, which sports provides, with a lot of dedicated coaches who encourage the child to see that side, to work through it. Our community and the people around us, communities around us, will be a lot better for it. Welcome.
Anybody else? Well, Jamie, I think you're off to a great start, and certainly Parks and Rec would love to continue being a partner with you or being involved with you, so please keep us abreast as to things that you've got going on so that we can certainly get that out to the community and certainly try and assist in any way that we can.
Great. I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Anybody on the board have any comments?
I have one quick one, and maybe to Tammy. I remember during our dialogue over the Memorial Field, Bob Nicholas raised an interesting point about reconfiguration, and he was talking about at the high school between where Enki is and the football field is, and saying that with some reconfiguration and possibly movement into the trees a little bit, to even that off, that we might be able to get another field. Do you recall that comment, even though you might not remember the specifics? Could we check back with Bob and ask for his insight and then maybe bring that up as an issue at another meeting? Because if there is a possibility to grab another field in cooperation with the school district, we certainly should do that.
I can talk to Bob and explore that with him and understand that more fully.
It's wet everywhere.
Okay.
I'm
Great.
sure you're talking about a regulation field, but it's pretty heavily used as a field now. Soccer uses it, football uses it, so it is in use as a field, that spot. It's like the overflow field. So for pretty much all seasons, it is used, but it's probably not regulation size. So it's used for practice, for overflow. And Ultimate may even have used it a couple of times.
They might have.
Yeah. It's a nice flat space. It's just not configured right. But it definitely gets use.
Okay. Any public participation?
I'm Sarah Pilling from Garrett Avenue. I want to thank Tammy for posting your agenda. I'm very interested in Parks and Rec. I live on Garrett Avenue. I feel that Emlyn Tunnel is our park, as well as Macrone, and I've been pretty dismayed for a number of months that the agenda was never published. In fact, until today, none had been published in advance since December of 2010. And I want to thank Tammy particularly for hopping to today and getting it done. A point of fact, the roof was put on the dugout at Emlyn Tunnel Field yesterday.
Oh, great.
So it's finished.
That's super.
I wanted to remind you, I wanted to say to Jamie, it may be the boys, but I walk Emlyn Tunnel at least twice a day. Those batting cages are not used extensively. Those are girls, but they're not in use all the time.
Are they primarily more used when there's games or practices
Yes.
going? Okay.
Yeah, when they're practicing before a game. But I also wanted to remind you that I came before you a couple of months ago about the signage at Emlyn Tunnell Field, which does allow dogs, and we do have a walking trail. I'd like you not to forget that.
Okay.
The community is monitoring it to the best, and I have asked Tammy when Paul comes back if what I call the poop boxes could get put up at that field,
Okay.
because the dogs are still allowed to walk. I have a feeling that if the box was there with the bag, the few people who don't use it would use it, even if the hours aren't what it says on the sign. And I have noticed as the games go on, there are more and more dogs
Right.
brought by the players' families, which is terrific. It makes it a family event. But again, the signage and the use of it is out of sync. So
Okay.
I know you've got a lot on your plate, but I'd like you to
Yeah.
not forget it.
Yep.
Okay?
I
Thank
apologize
you.
apologize. We'll certainly take a look into that.
Thank you, Sarah.
Any other board comment?
I would just like to encourage everybody to attend the Garrett Hill 4th of July parade on Monday. I know it's Monday, the 4th of July, obviously. I know it's a couple weeks away, but I know we were talking about the Radnor Run being a real part of this community. I think the Garrett Hill parade is a real part of this community as well, and just encourage everyone to come out and participate and enjoy the fun.
I want to say I like your new newsletter.
Thank you.
Tammy, was this your effort?
It was a combination of our department staff along with the information technology department, specifically Melissa Kahn.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
You're
We
welcome.
worked really hard to make
It looks like you
make
did.
it good. So we welcome comments on it as well, because we are going to look to do another one for the fall that we hope will go out in early October. So if anyone has any comments, if any of the boards, if any of the folks at home have comments about it, we want to hear about it so we can make it better. Like if there's information we can provide, not only on behalf of Parks and Recreation, but on all the departments of the township.
And it looks like you got a lot of advertising.
just
Is that
gonna
what
say.
paid for it?
That did, yeah,
That's
it was paid for
fabulous.
fully by advertisements.
Great.
That's
So
awesome.
thank you to Franklin Maps, of course, for their
Well, it's beautiful.
help in
Awesome.
that effort. Thank you for recognizing it. Thank
Tammy,
you.
did the advertising pay for the postage as well?
The advertising paid for the entire process, other than any staff time that we put forth
Wow.
to submit our information.
That's a lot of
It was
moolah.
it was an amazing accomplishment. So we're happy to have you recognize it.
And Tammy, it came over the internet this afternoon. That's how
Excellent,
That's awesome.
excellent.
Good stuff. Thank you, Brucey.
One other thing that I have, when Elaine had mentioned ultimate frisbee's use potentially of the auxiliary, I guess, field over at the high school, it made me just want to acknowledge that the ultimate frisbee group, the boys group, did win the state championship.
Oh, good.
So
for
sorry, I
them.
forgot to mention that.
Good for them.
Should have done that. And our
Yeah.
crew won too, our boys' crew.
Excellent. Congratulations to both of them.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
We are adjourned.